Hello, this is the Daily Reddit going back at you again. We're hitting the subreddit r/vaxxhappened, and let's crack into it. Please comment, subscribe, and like. A vaccine to prevent autism would completely confuse anti-vaxxers. Let's be honest, a piece of paper with "please turn over" on both sides could completely confuse anti-vaxxers. Logic confuses anti-vaxxers. Would love to know what's in them. A gamer said that his friend had a flu shot back some 15 years ago and bragged about never getting the flu after quitting the shot. He skid out on a cycle and died. The autopsy revealed the shot was still in his system all those years later. If we don't know what we are putting in us. I hope you're kidding, right? Are you trying to say some random online gamer is lying on the internet? What in the actual F are you talking about? What does this story even mean? What does it mean? I usually love sarcasm, but you lost me here. I know tons of unvaccinated kids and none of them are in the hospital or have needed to be after their birth. There are plenty of unvaccinated people in hospitals though. Heck, just got admitted and you'll probably end up vaccinated while you're there. They literally chased my mum out the door and vaccinated her as she was trying to leave. That's not true. No doctor's going to chase someone as they're leaving and vaccinate them impromptu. They're going to sit you down, tell you about it, and then do it. You know you're a 90s kid when your vaccinations were mandatory and no one in your class got measles. Love that. That's actually a funny 90s kid thing. Most 90s kid posts are just like, you know you're a 90s kid when you watch TV as a child. It's like, no, everyone did that. Do we have any proof of how many abortions it takes to make a vaccine? I think there were like 70 something. Oh my god, what are they on about? I'm going to try to be nice about this, because being the arsehole I really want to right now will not work. My 3-year-old school just called. A kid with a religious exemption from vaccines was just diagnosed with pertussis. My 3-year-old has not yet had her last DTaP shot. She is currently home with a 102-degree fever and cough with her 4-month-old baby brother. This illness could potentially be deadly if he were to catch it. Is this getting through to anyone? My 4-month-old could die if his sister has contracted pertussis from her classmate, who had no legitimate medical reason to not be vaccinated. I could have fully vaccinated for it by now, as he's already 4 and passes it on to her baby brother. I constantly hear the argument, well, it's my child, my choice. No, just no, it's everyone's child, your choice. Unless there is legitimate medical reason for you not to vaccinate your children, and not just some bullshit religious or Google biased reason, please vaccinate your children. Now, I'll suggest that if you don't, unless you've got a medical reason, if you're not vaccinated, you shouldn't be able to go to school. Simple as that. Unless you can go to private school, but no public school for you. These are the best vaccination alternatives already on the market, because we know that sometimes an essential oil is better than science. The answer, there aren't any. Vaccinate your children. A note on flu vaccines. In pregnancy after a stillbirth. As well as increasing your risk of stillbirth, it puts you at risk of developing complications, particularly if you get it in the later stages of pregnancy, giving birth prematurely. So, the vaccine, so this is literally taking information from a Google, or from a document and put it into the top result in Google, but it's kind of lost the context because it goes, the vaccine is recommended by the NHS as well as RCOG and RCM because of the benefits to your body and your baby. Getting the flu in pregnancy is a serious matter. As well as increasing the risk of child or stillbirth, it puts you at risk of developing complications, particularly if you get it at later stages of pregnancy and giving birth prematurely. Obviously here they're talking about if you get flu, not the flu vaccine. If you tell people to believe women when they're raped, but gaslight them when their children regress into autism from vaccines, you're not a feminist. Wow. How are you putting rape and trying to compare that to the same thing as in vaccines? It's like you're trying to get one controversial topic and mix with another like dumb topic. There we go. So you've got measles in all these different states. As you can see, when the vaccine was introduced, the cases of measles have gone to barely anything. And now you can now see in the last 10 years, from about 2003, there has been a more consistent amount of cases of measles in all states. After thinking about it for a long time, I finally decided it was a good idea that I didn't vaccinate our daughter. I know this has been a pretty controversial topic as of late, but there was one argument I just couldn't ignore. The nurse is a professional and a much more adept with a syringe. That's a good one. That's a good twist. I was surprised by that. In my practice, you will vaccinate and you will vaccinate on time. You will not get your own spaced out schedule that increases your child's risk of illness or adverse event. I will not have measles shedding children sitting in my waiting room. I will answer all your questions about vaccine and present you with facts. But if you will not vaccinate, then leave my practice. I will file a CPS report. Not that they will do anything for medical neglect too. I have patients who are premature infants with weak lungs and hearts. I have kids with complex congenital heart disease. I have kids who are on chemotherapy for acute lymphoblastic leukemia, who cannot get all their vaccines. In short, I have patients who have true special needs and true health issues who could suffer severe injury or death because of your magical belief that your kid is somehow more special than other children, and what's good for other children is not good for yours. This paediatrician is not putting up with it. Never have, never will. This is a doctor I can respect. Well, I respect all doctors, mostly. Remember that one time you got polio? Nope. It's because 95% of the time it's asymptomatic and presents itself only as the flu. It's never been eradicated. They just keep changing its name so you think it has. How do people think making this meme helps anybody? I'm beginning to believe that doctors are trained to manipulate like this. When I asked our paediatrician if they are held responsible if there's an adverse reaction to vaccines, she answered by asking if I would be held responsible if my child gets one of those diseases. And the question is, yes, you will be responsible. If you're the parent, you should let your kids have the vaccines, which are clearly proven to work. No, playing Flight Simulator does not make you a pilot. Makes sense. No, playing with Legos does not make you a civil engineer. Makes sense. No, warming up food in the microwave doesn't make you a chef. Makes sense. No, watching online clips doesn't make you a doctor. Yes, it does. The mercury is the thing that gives you gay autism cancer. Wow, how can you think so logically and then be so dumb? I was at the store and saw a kid with a band-aid from a vaccine shot and then had to yell at their parents for 10 minutes to explain the dangers of vaccines to them. When I was done, everyone clapped, so glad to have so many supporters. Obviously, this is a parody post, like a That Happened post, but good. Get ready to fight. In Italy, it's looking like adults will need to be vaccinated in order to renew their driver's license. Friends, adults are next. This is weird. I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel like as an adult you should be free from having to take injections if you don't want any. It's different as a child because they can't give consent to vaccinations and can't refuse it in that sense. But yeah, as an adult you should be free from anyone putting any needle in your arm. Vax happened. Anyway, that is it for the daily Reddit on Vax Happened. Please do subscribe, comment and like for more.